Well, I got started on this last night, so I already had some things off. We're gonna need the carb off to clean it for sure. This is that's where oil goes in. I don't know if this just pulls out or twists out, or I'll have to look it up because I've never owned one. I rode one once that somebody else rented. So yeah, no experience with these bikes, but I did look up a bunch of things before getting started. So like the transmission oil is separate from the crankcase oil, and they had in stock one of the chrome oil filters. So we'll keep that look. The oil filter's up here on this side, right? And I've seen lots of mention of making sure you put something under there to capture the oil as it comes out. One guy had a half-gallon milk jug. I don't have that. I'll probably just quadruple fold over some aluminum foil and make my own kind of splash thingy. So yeah, let's get to it. Okay, now that it's up and I've got the little arms locked in place, I just had to add a little fluid to it. We got to drain a couple things here. So I made myself a kind of pour out for the filter. So I think what I'm going to do is just start with that, get the filter out, get the new one in. That way I can pull this out and only worry about draining over here. Because what we're going to do is drain out of this hole. That's the transmission drain, and then this is the oil drain, because this is I guess technically kind of a dry sump, right? So I don't think that the filter was over tightened when it was put on. I think it's been on here for 6 years, right? It's been sitting in the garage, stuck on here for 6 years. I don't know how I'm going to get my socket back off. Ew. There's still some coming out the front, but most of it's coming out the back. We'll just have to spray it down. Fantastic. This one's the actual oil drain right here, right? It's just a plug. Where you just unscrew the clamp, allegedly, right? Yeah. And you pop this off. Jar. There we go. And now the oil's draining out of that oil tank. We'll get this cleaned up so there's no filth on it. And another little tip that I read is that when you after you fill, you're supposed to pop this off and let a little bit of oil come out so you know there's no air in the line, and that guarantees that you don't have an air bubble at the pickup, which can cause problems at the pump. So I'll make sure to remember to do that as well. But we'll leave this, and then we'll get this trans one off as well. Yeah, because we should be able to fit 4 quarts in this drain pan. Okay, transmission drain. I put a 16 on it, and it snapped right off, no problem. But like I said, we don't want it to just dribble out of this rail, so I think I'll get something to direct it. Oh, I could just use a piece of that foil. I don't need a whole funnel. Be right back. There we go. Just made our own little block for it. This should have an O-ring on it, allegedly, that we need to replace. But we'll see if I have one that size. Oh, that's clean. But look at all, see on the magnet on the end. So even though the fluid's clean, it's old, right? 6-year-old fluid. We're going to change it out. It should be changed, from what I read, at 5,000 miles and then every 10,000 miles. And this bike's just under 4,800 miles. So this would be the time that it would be changed anyway as part of a normal break-in, because this bike really isn't even broken in yet. So we'll put new fluid in it. It'll be ready to go for the next guy, and it should help with its resale value. Okay, I'll pop this inspection cover off. That's where the chain is, so this goes back to your clutch and transmission and stuff. And that's where the gear oil goes in, which isn't the clutch back here though? So why would we care what kind of motor oil it uses if the clutch is in the gear oil? I wonder if I can't use that gear oil then. Maybe I need to use a motorcycle specific 7590. To look this up. Yeah, I found this great thread on the Harley forums. This guy found a study done about the GL5 gear oil and whether it's corrosive or not. So what people worry about, the book calls for 2050 in the engine and 2050 in the transmission. Why they keep them separate at that point, I don't know. Just space considerations maybe. Either way, a lot of guys run 7590 in the trans, in this primary with the clutch, and because there's copper in there, GL5 can corrode the copper. Well, he found a study that AMSOIL did, which of course AMSOIL did the study and theirs are considered safe, right? They're okay. But regardless, I'm going to go ahead and trust it anyway. So their fluid is considered safe because it didn't corrode the copper and other yellow metals, whereas the Lucas 7590 GL5 is unsafe because it corrodes it quite quickly, and that's what we bought was the Lucas. Well, lo and behold, Hoarder John has a unopened thing of AMSOIL that, I mean, it's old, but it's sealed right. Here's my version of burping this thing. This is exactly what everyone else says to do. You just pop the nipple out, let some oil come through. Oh, you know what? I have the cap in. Nope, but there it comes anyway. So, yeah, it's kind of dark and gross, so we'll let a little bit more come out. Boom, good enough. So now there's no air in that line. We don't need to worry about whatever it is that happens, whether it gets an air bubble in the pump or who knows. I didn't read too much into it. So yeah, don't stab myself. There you go. Clip that on there and you're done. So we can get this thing back on the ground and do carb work, but I'm gonna go eat some food first. Yeah. Okay, the air filter comes off with 4 of these 3/8 bolts that go all the way through into the carb housing. Look at this, right? There's huge holes in it. Like I can see right through the filter element, especially on this bottom side. So we'll have to get a new one of those. We'll put this one in place for a test ride. It won't hurt it any. It'll keep bugs and stuff from getting sucked in there, but we wouldn't want to ride across the country like that or out in the sand or anything like that. So we'll definitely get a new one ordered so that the next guy doesn't have to change it. But if a neighbor buys it, I'll just let him know that it needs it. And then these guys, who cares what they do? It's probably just vacuum for some other portion. So get those out of the way, and then what size is this? 5/32 for these hex. So so far nothing's been metric. For some reason I thought it would. I was like, nah, it's hard to sell an American bike to hardcore American dudes and then have metric fasteners. They'd probably all throw big hissy fits. So it is what it is. Okay, so that's actually it. So where those vacuum line thingies were, there's a hex down in there. So it looks like those need to come off as well as these 3. Some secret I don't know about. What's in there? What is that? It's a little screw. I need a light. Let's give this one another try with power tools instead. There we go. Right off. So, yeah, look at that. There's a Loctite and stuff. That's a dumb, like, well, I see why they did it, but it's like, really, guys? So, clearly, when we put these back together, they're going to need thread sealant, and then they're O-ringed on the airbox side. But that O-ring doesn't do anything. Right, so that's the part that's funny, is that O-ring only seats with those vacuum tubes. Right, so we have this big stupid plate where they have a threaded hole that goes through to a threaded hole. So you have threads and threads, right, when you put that together. And then these guys need to seal into the head, and then they go essentially the crank, bring it up, stop it. But this goes over there. So O-ring doesn't do anything. It doesn't. So it looks like that probably doubles as a mount, and I bet the boot on the other side is the only thing still holding this on. We'll need to get the fuel line off, which uses one of these style, you know, out of nowhere they just use a nicer clamp, right? Whereas in other places they use kind of crappy ones. So yeah, we'll get it there. And then this gasket, Hopefully that seals well enough when we put it back together. Yeah, I was able to get that fuel line pulled through, so let's go ahead and put it on reserve. Wait, that's this way. Is it even going to come out? I know there's fuel in the tank. I wonder if that petcock's that gummed up with varnish. Or does this have a vacuum? Oh yeah, look on the back there. Is that a vacuum thingy? I can't see it. Still can't see it. That might be a vacuum activated petcock, which sucks. So that means we can't, unless it has a prime. It doesn't. It has off, it has reserve, it has on, no prime. Oh, lame. Okay, we'll have to figure out how to get that open. Maybe I can grab my Mighty Vac if we can find the line for it, if it is a vacuum activated one. Okay, I did find it. So it's this line right here that this finger's on. It goes into the carb. It's the vacuum line that'll allow that petcock to open. So let's go ahead and get the carb off. I'll have access to that line. I'll try to get some vacuum on it and get this tank drained. I don't see a clamp. It's just a big rubber boot. So I think that it just snaps in. There's nothing that actually clamps it on. So if that's the case, let's see what we got here. That's overflow line, nothing else underneath really. And that one, it doesn't do anything special, it just hangs down there. So maybe I should look this up on the internet before I just go prying on it. Somebody out there knows. So we have a choke line coming in the side right here, throttle on this side, and our vacuum on top. That's all that's left, but I don't see any strap. I think it just pops in there really hard, and it's been sitting for 6 years, so it's probably going to be really stuck. Good. So magic of the internet. They're saying to remove this, or you loosen this up and it drops out so the choke can pull through. Dudes say pop that vacuum line off the top, which we'll get to, and then you can get the throttle off, but you have to loosen it from up here, right? So there's some kind of adjustment. I don't see an adjustment anywhere. Maybe I'm a crazy person. Oh, maybe it's under this. Come on off. Yeah, so we'll loosen it up here. We'll I wonder if I just left music playing well that came out. So there might be some silent video showing how these cables came out through their slots, and the one has the spring, and how the choke came through. So you're like, hey, you can leave the choke in place. No, we're taking the choke out because we want to clean everything. So we'll get this whole area cleaned off. We'll get the carb separated into its pieces, and we'll use a parts washer to clean it up, and then we'll get her back together and on the bike. But in the meantime, we do need to get this fuel start draining. Yeah, so let me find my vacuum pump. Alright, so I have my vacuum with the little adapter on the end that I hope is the right size, and I hope that fan's not causing too much noise. This should fit in there. Hopefully it seals well enough. It looks like it will. I need 2 hands. Now what we should see is when we apply vacuum, because we're in the off position, we want to be on reserve because that'll get the most fuel out. And when I pump, I've already started to. Look at that. See, so I just gave it a little bit of vacuum, a little bit more. That opens it up and lets it drain. So if we see this stop draining, all I have to do is come over, look at my gauge, maybe give it another squeeze to get vacuum on that diaphragm, and that'll just sit here and pee while we work. So it's not a good time for a cigar. Maybe later tonight once the fuel's out of the garage. Kind of a preview of what's to come. This green stuff came out. I was like, oh, I doubt there's anything left of it to even drain out, and there's just like shmoo, like the nastiest. So that's, yeah, it's going to be gross in here, but it's okay. We'll survive. I'm going to go ahead and pull this drain wire off and get this carb cable off so they're not flopping around. You can't get beat up while we disassemble. This one's flat enough on top. I'm going to do it. So if this had a weird angle to it, I would do the top first. So I have a flat place to set it while I take the bolt off, but in this case we don't need to worry about that. This is, oh, it looks like an accelerator. Yeah, it's an accel pump. So when you pull the throttle, right, zoom, 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 this has a little plunger, and it'll force squirt fuel into the vehicle. Actually, it might come out of this and go up. Usually I'm used to them pointing through, but I don't see one. So it probably squirts here and then gets pulled in. But that gives you fuel before the slide has time to react via vacuum, and gives you good, nice snappy throttle. You don't have any like input lag where it runs lean. I don't know if that's got anything holding from the inside, so we'll just pull the whole bowl and see what it looks like. Let's see, I want to keep the bolts in order. Yep, so there's that rod, just pushes into here, a little seal, which means this should just come apart. There's nothing, look at, just chunks, right? Chunks of stuff. It's not, I mean, it could be worse. I've seen worse. So, yeah, we'll deal with taking this apart. Well, I want to do it now because I want to keep, oh, there it goes. I want to keep them in order. So there's that guy. He's got two O-rings in there. I might not take those out unless I absolutely have to. And there's a diaphragm. Try not to tear it. So this is in good shape, and the other side doesn't see fuel, right? It just sees air because it pushes on it. So we're not going to take that out either. I don't want to risk tearing it, and I think it'll still seal just fine. We'll just clean up this side and make sure that we get all this old fuel off of it. Okay, carburetor. We'll leave the slide stuff together. Let's focus on getting all the jets and whatnot out. We need probably a flathead and an 8mm. Okay, they came out as one piece. If they hadn't, this lower hex is an 8mm. You know, we'll want to get, I like to get these apart when I clean them, but we'll leave them together until we go to clean. There'll be another jet down in this passage. There we go. There it is, disgusting. This is the one that'll make it idle like crap. Oh look, this gasket is coming apart. So it looks like there's a paper gasket, and then there's that gasoline that got it to come apart. Some kind of foam. I'm not going to take anything off that I don't have to, because then it should just seal back up without having to buy parts. It's got an arrow, so it only goes one way. Oh, that sucks. That means it might press in this side. I might need to actually hammer that out. Yeah. Pain in my butt. All right. Okay. Let's slap this thing back together real quick. This has two sides. One that's like flat looking and one that has tapers. Those tapers you want going into the body of the carb. So go ahead and drop that guy in. This one will hold it down. That's where your needle's gonna go inside. Together. And it doesn't need to be super tight. Like I have this wrench with an 8mm on it, and all I'm gonna do is turn it a little. I'm not gonna actually wrench down on it, otherwise the thing will be stuck and you'll never get it out. And get your jet back on top. Just for reference, this is a 180. It's hard to read because that was down in the gas while it was all evaporating for ages. So I need a screwdriver. Yeah, so main jet, primary jet, whatever you want to call it, it's a 180. That's secondary. This is a 45. Boop. Now this driver. Remember, these are brass. Once they seat, just a tiny, tiny bit of torque, and they're not going anywhere. Now, this guy's symmetrical, just goes on the float. I'll go ahead and put it in forward ways, and hopefully it's not too loosey-goosey, but yeah, that just slid right through. Where's my socket? This guy. It's good enough for me. That'll do. It's not coming out, that's for sure, so I'm not worried about it. But back up to here. We have our jets in, we have our float in place, and that float sucks. That should hold it up. I wonder if so this guy will go on. This is for this and his diaphragm. So yeah, we can put this back together. And I think what we want to do is get this back in place before we do that. Yep, okay. Same with these, don't over tighten them. It's just going to be worse on you later when you do, if you have to take it back apart. You know, a year later, a month later, tomorrow. Okay, that's air screw, and I haven't cleaned that one yet. Yeah, actually, I probably would. The same thing, you're not going to wrench on this crazy and try and end up bending that tip or putting a ring in it. You just right there until it stops, right? And then we were 2 turns out. So it's half, 1, 1.5, 2 turns. That'll be our starting point. A lot of times, if you don't know where to start, 2.5 turns is a good baseline. It could be there's so much soot in that carb, maybe the bike's working super rich and that should be a little further out. We're not going to worry too much about it, we'll just see how it sounds. Quite better than that piece of crap. Last part, this guy, See, it's not centered, right? So you need to match which side goes which way, so it goes that way. Okay. And your needle drops in. This one's not adjustable. Should go all the way through into the float and sit flush. This guy's going to hold it down, and that spring's going to hold it down. This one, using the cap. So make sure this is all the way in and that you don't crush it funny or tear it. And this is completely symmetrical and doesn't have any markings, so who cares? It'll sit on top. And then 3 of the bolts go everywhere but where the throttle cables are. And the last one goes on with this bracket, but it gets a collar first, so that goes in there. And when this guy goes over it, it keeps it from crushing the plastic. Yep. Okay, so I pulled the fuel line back. We'll need something to clamp that eventually, but not now. Just push the choke through so that it can be attached. And 2 throttle lines. Remember, the one with the spring is the longer one, so we'll put him through first. And that goes just to here. Oh, there we go. Come on. It's stupid. It's dumb. So on real motorcycles that don't suck, there's nuts here, and it just tightens and loosens. And this one you have to do it up there. There's as loose as they'll get. They still fit like crap. Vacuum line on the back. Come on, butthead. Before I squish this in, make sure that choke's coming through. Did that just pop? Okay, I think that's popped in. Well, no, if these don't sit flush. Then, oh, damn it. Coming back out. The fuel line needs to go above that, I think. Above the choke. Yeah. Feels like it's in. Looks like it's in. Test ride version 2. This time I have my wallet with me, so I won't get arrested. I'll just get the bike impounded for having no plate and no insurance. If there's a cop, though, I can sit at the end of my driveway all day, and it's not illegal because it's private property. There's not enough buttons. I don't know what to do. Yeah, it starts nice. Now the clutch is adjusted and the throttle's not loose. It sounds better even. Oh. I'm so bad at it. it's like, it's just like I see on the road, right? Like it makes a bunch of noise and it's so slow. It's like the most underwhelming thing I've ever been on. And this is the big version. That's even, hopefully I don't stall it again like an idiot. She's got the clutch assist on this. There's nobody coming. This is how you get arrested, is speeding and making a racket. Yeah, it's running better now. Hi, Mom. Can't even find neutral. Yeah, it works how I'd expect for a 15-year-old Harley that runs on a carb, so I think we're good.